Welcome back to Not Just the Water Boys. This week we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs, the draft, and all the drugs. So we'll start off this week's episode talking about the NBA playoffs. 4 teams remain. In the Western Conference Finals, we have Golden State and Portland. In Eastern Conference Finals, we have the Raptors and Milwaukee. So I just like to say quickly, this is like how we predicted, Abby and I at least, we did Golden State, Portland, and we predicted Milwaukee Bucks and the Raptors. Manraj also predicted Bucks, Raptors, but he thought San Antonio could somehow make it. And he's a kid, he's still learning, but yeah. So let's go on. Who do you guys think can win the Eastern Conference Finals? We saw the Bucks take that game 1 win by 8.
Yeah. So it's got to be the Raptors.
So I think, I'm going to contradict what I said last week, where I said that the Raptors, in order to win the series, they have to win a game 1. After seeing the way they played, after coming off of a game 7 and not really getting to study the way the Bucks play, and coming short by 8 points, and with guys like Kyle Lowry playing the way they did, and their bench putting up solid numbers, I really think that they won't lose, especially when it games to a game 4, game 5 situation, where there's the possible return of the great defender OG Njtwb in the backup lineup. Yeah, so we saw Milwaukee. They had a great game, but the Raptors were up the whole game and then went down like 35-17, I think, was Milwaukee to Toronto in the fourth quarter. So a big thing the Raptors didn't account for, and I think it makes 100% that they didn't pay attention to this, is Brook Lopez. Yeah. Because apparently Brook Lopez is the best on Milwaukee. Well, I'd actually like to say something about that. The reason Brook Lopez went off against the Raptors, and the reason that he has potential to go off again against them, is because Brook Lopez, he's one of the big men who can shoot the 3 ball very consistently. Him and Al Horford. And when you have guys like Marc Gasol, who are defensive player of the years at their regarded position, when you have guys like that who are perfect for stopping Giannis in the paint if he gets by the perimeter defender, that's what they do. They're great at that. But then that leaves Lopez open on the perimeter, and he's a shooter. So that really is hard. And especially, that's why I think Marc Gasol, even though he's such a good defender, if the Raptors want to shut him down, they're going to have to put the more athletic Serge Ibaka there because he's more versatile as a perimeter defender than Gasol. Let's be honest. Besides Brook Lopez and Malcolm Brogdon coming back, the Bucks aren't really a great shooting team. They have 3 guys. The 2 I just listed. No, they actually shoot the second highest percentage in the league during the regular season.
The only way the Bucks are going to win the series is if they consistently make the 3. Because the Raptors' defensive philosophy right now is to stop Giannis at all costs, swarm him with, I think 4 guys is what they did a lot of the time, and then Giannis will kick it out to one of his 4 shooters.
I think that if the Raptors do that, they'll actually lose, if that's their defensive strategy.
That's what they did in Game 1.
Because that's what they did in Game 1. They lost by 8. Yeah. But, yes, that's how the Bucks played the entire year. Yeah. You have Giannis go in and dominate, and then when they start swarming him, you have shooters on the perimeter. The Boston Celtics the Milwaukee Bucks in the regular season attempted the second most threes in the league and shot the second highest shooting percentage. Yeah. Counting on them to miss a 3, I don't think that'll work. The Raptors, if they want to come up strong and beat the Bucks, they're going to have better shooting performances offensively from guys like Pascal Siakam. Kyle Lowry shot the ball very well, 7 for 9. But when you have Kawhi, Danny Green, and Pascal all shooting the 20s for 3-point percent, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah. I think a big part of it, of why Toronto lost Game 1, even though they were ahead most of the time, is because of the timing that Brook Lopez started to go off. In the first half, I don't recall him having even half his points. He went off in the second half, and Toronto wasn't able to make the halftime adjustments that they needed to in order to account for him defensively. And also, we have to give credit where credit's due in Game 1. Kyle Lowry and Brook Lopez were the 2 best players on the court. Yeah, I think that's...
I think the Raptors, as you just said, they weren't expecting Brook Lopez to do that, right?
Brook Lopez shouldn't be able to go off like that again. Yeah. That was a freak incident. The same thing with Kyle Lowry being able to score 30.
The Raptors, Nick Nurse will definitely have to change their defensive set, though, because if they don't play the same way they did Game 1, as Manraj said earlier, Brook Lopez has the potential to keep going off. And I think a big thing they can do is how they matched up with Philly. Play Ibaka more and have Gasol and Ibaka in. So that way you can have Gasol go up and still have a guy like Ibaka there to stop Giannis in the paint. It's not as good as having Gasol there, but I think it'll still be better. Even match up Ibaka with Brook Lopez so Gasol can be there to help.
So going into Game 2 tonight, Who do you think? So what do you think is the X factor tonight? Because both teams have an equal chance to win, in my opinion. Game 1 was just.
I genuinely say the X factor is Brook Lopez. Or even Kyle Lowry. I think the X factor. We saw both of those guys going off. Brook Lopez had more points than Kyle Lowry, but Kyle Lowry did amazing for the Raptors. So it just depends which team can keep
Kyle Lowry
up.
had more points.
Yeah, which team can keep up the support for their superstar, and that team will come up the top. Because
another concern.
It wasn't just Brook Lopez. They had like Middleton and Brogdon scoring points, as well as Eric Bledsoe doing really good.
Yeah, that's another case I have for Toronto because, to be honest, you didn't really feel Giannis's presence that much. Like he put up numbers, but I mean, you didn't feel him you didn't feel like he was the dominant player in the game. You felt that more from Brook Lopez and Kyle Lowry. Yeah,
I think with the Giannis Kawhi matchup and the way these two teams are set up, they're like almost identical in how they're all like formed around like to give depth to a superstar, and it's just gonna come out in which team's supporting cast can outweigh the others. So I think for the Raptors, the X factor is actually Serge Ibaka because one, he averages more than 11 points per game. They're projected to win at least 80% of the time. When he averages 6 or less, then they lose majority of the time. So I really think for the Raptors team, he's their sixth man right now because Fred VanVleet's been having a shaky playoffs. I really think that he's going to have to put up some consistent numbers offensively and play a solid defense, which he has proven to be able to do multiple times during this playoffs. And I'd also like to say that the Kawhi and Leonard matchup on Giannis, Kawhi's a great defender. Giannis is a lot taller than him, and he's just as strong as Kawhi, giving him an advantage. I think the better matchup is Pascal Siakam because of how long he is. He's going to be able to put his hands in the passing lanes and really be able to clog up some of those passes Giannis likes to put off to the corners for the 3-point shooter. Yeah, I think just to end it up quickly on this side, the Bucks, we're about to see them at full strength. By Game 3, they'll be able to adjust with Malcolm Brogdon back in the lineup, and they'll be just as good as they were in the regular season. And the Raptors aren't getting a Njtwb until a little later. Like, I think Game 4 I think, 5. Like, he's been able to practice, but very minimally. So they might not even get him back. Yeah. So those both are great, like not even role players. Brogdon's a starter, or he was a starter in the Bucks. He's a great shooting guard, and he can change the series. Milwaukee's about to be at a place where they were in the regular season that made them so dominant. Having guys like Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, and Pat Connaughton even step up and be able to drop 10 points apiece, which contributes to the just load Giannis carries for the team, as well as Brook Lopez now. So the Raptors are really we can't see that streaky basketball we've seen them play for the entire playoff career of the franchise of the Toronto Raptors. Yeah. They're going to have to be consistent in how they were yesterday, and Kawhi's going to have to produce more in the fourth quarter. So now let's move on to the Western Conference Finals. Golden State is now up 2-0. The second game was really tight. The first one, not so much. Any predictions on how that's going to go? So firstly, I'd actually like to shift our debate from the actual series and more to the Warriors team. So there's been a lot of talk out there that the Warriors are better without Kevin Durant. So what are your guys' opinion on that? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, you hear from the Warriors themselves. They're like Klay Thompson stated earlier today that they're a better team. Obviously, they can't three-peat without Kevin Durant, and I have to agree with him there. I mean, you see the return of the Splash Brothers. They're getting more shots. They're being able to score more points, like individually, without Kevin Durant in the lineup. But at the end of the day, they can't win a championship without him, especially facing either the Raptors or the Bucks in the finals.
Well, we saw Kevin Durant in the first series, even in the second series when he was there. He carried the Warriors. Against the Clippers, if they didn't have KD then, I feel like the Warriors wouldn't have gotten past them. So I think But the Warriors are playing good right now, and it's surprising that they're able to produce this well without KD. But last night, we saw Steph Curry go 4 for 14 from the field. But it's also the Warriors have some other guys stepping up, like Andre Iguodala with that game-saving steal. That would have been KD on the floor instead of him. And Quinn Cook had an awesome game 1. The lack of KD, Steph Curry, I feel like he's been the same. He's gotten more shots, of course, so his numbers are going to go up. Klay has kind of been struggling the whole season. His numbers are increasing a little bit, but still not that well shooting. Draymond Green's passing is a lot better without KD, and they move the ball better. But at the end of the day, he's a superstar, like arguably top 3, even arguably the best in the league right now. So any team would improve having that person with them. So I think that one reason that people can make the argument that people, or at least want to make the argument, is that they're saying Klay Thompson and Steph Curry especially are being more productive shooting wise, and with they're having average number increases. But I think you can attribute this to the team's overall laziness. Like, if you have 5 All-Stars, you're not going to have to put in all that effort and be that good. Then when Boogie leaves in the playoffs, even he gets injured, you're like, okay, KD's putting up monster numbers. They can still take a little step back, right? But then as soon as he leaves, you see more of a sense of urgency. They play with a quicker pace. They're not as slow bringing the ball up the court, and they're generally, like, they have to work a little harder now. And if you work harder, you're going to shoot better percentages. And of course, as they said earlier before me, if you're gonna shoot, you're gonna score more if you get to shoot more shots. That's just how every game works. So yeah, shifting from that more to the series against Portland. Do you guys see Portland coming back? Personally, I do not. I think they could push it to 6 games, but no further. I only see Portland moving it to 5 games unless they have unless I personally want Portland to win. I like their team better than Golden State. But unless Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum step up, they've had guys like Mo Harkless, Seth Curry, and Rodney Hood get like 17 points apiece, and then Curry just got 16 points
and
against
4
his brother.
steals.
Yeah.
And 4 steals. It's Lillard is not producing. We saw him get stripped to end the game. How does that, you're the all-star of the team, and that happens. McCollum struggled the whole game. He took the last few shots and never connected, which led the Warriors to come back when they were down 3 with 2 minutes left.
I hate to say this early in the series, but I have to, the Warriors are winning this.
Anytime the Warriors really go up by 2, there's no,
Yeah, Portland's
only
best
the
chance
Cavs,
to
so-
even, the Portland Trailblazers' best chance of winning the series was to win Game 2, especially since they did lead most of the game, sort of like how the Raptors played Game 1.
Yeah.
They didn't score at all, I think, in the last 3 minutes. I think they only scored 3 points to Golden State Warriors 17.
Mm-hmm.
So they blew that game. They had that game in their fingertips, and they just did not perform in the clutch like they needed to. Because especially when you're facing a Warriors team built with 4 All-Stars still playing, and you're up by in double digits, you can't play like that and expect to win
I don't
games.
know what's happening with Damian Lillard, because we saw this is a different Damian Lillard than the one that played against Paul George and Russell Westbrook. This is he just seems off. There he seemed I don't know.
against the Nuggets.
Even against the Nuggets, he was worse. Against the Thunder, I don't know if their trash talking really motivated him to go out there and do his best.
I think there's more motivation in that series because it's the first series. First of all, you haven't won a playoff game in a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's more important I think it was more important then for Portland to win games than it is now, because now they're kind of tired. They're fatigued, and they know they're probably most likely going to lose.
I feel there's some mental part to Lillard and McCollum, which no All-Star can have. You're never going to win a playoff series if you
think of him as a human. I mean, there's obviously some sort of mental block there because, you're playing this, Goliath.
Because I feel like the Clippers had a better mindset going in against the Warriors, and that's why they were successful to an extent against them. And Portland never had that. All right, so we're going to shift on from here to the draft lottery. But quickly, I would like to reiterate that all 3 of us, we believe that the Western Conference Finals is rather irrelevant, because we believe that the champion will be the winner of the Raptors-Bucks series. So moving on from that, we'll now... Okay, so heading into draft talk, we already see the New Orleans Pelicans got the first pick. I think everyone knows that. Those of you who don't know the lottery order, here it is up on the screen. So, New Orleans, they're getting Zion. What do you guys think, starting with Abi, will happen with Anthony Davis and now with the addition of Zion?
All right, I don't think Zion potentially coming to the Pelicans is going to do anything for Anthony Davis. He's gone. So I think the Pelicans are going to ship him to either New York or Los Angeles for the 3rd or 4th pick, respectively. And, of course, that's going to be packaged with a couple other players like DeAndre Jordan, Dennis Smith Jr., or Brandon Ingram, or Kyle Kuzma.
Well, if you look at that trade now that LeBron and the Lakers were proposing with, their bench and starting 5 for Anthony Davis, if you take that now and then put Zion in there, would that be the smarter move than the New York trade for the, the Pelicans? Also, they can do a lot of rumors about the Boston trade, like a Tatum center trade, where Tatum and Zion as well as like Terry Rozier can come in for Drew Holiday, and of course maybe a pick or some other role players for Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis. Which one of these scenarios do you guys think would be the best for the Pelicans? Lakers, Celtics, or Knicks? I say that the Knicks is the most convincing argument. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you because the Knicks is the most hypothetical argument. Not necessarily. If they choose Barrett, if they give away DeAndre Jordan. The fact of the matter is they're most likely going to choose Barrett because he is the third best player in this draft. And the reason they would want to get Barrett is because obviously all their plans haven't worked. They didn't get the first pick. I mean, 14% is just 14%, people. It's not a guaranteed 100. I don't know what they were hoping for. They're the only team, actually, who had the 14% chance that actually made it in the top 4. So that's something. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Phoenix and Chicago, they also had the 14%. They were 6 and 7. But anyway, so back to what I was saying. I think that New York's the most interesting scenario because if Barrett goes, the Barrett's probably going to be the third pick. If you can ship that to New Orleans alongside DeAndre Jordan as well as Dennis Smith Jr. for Drew Holiday and AD, I think that's a really good trade because then you're getting rid of the two guys you don't want to be in your organization, and you're sending them to a team where they're not going to be happy there either. So that actually works out in your favor. And they're in the East. I would disagree with that. I think the main issue with Anthony Davis isn't talent, because if it was talent, he would have agreed to stay after they got Zion. Yeah. I think it's the big market. I think it's the big market. New Orleans is a small market. He doesn't really like it. Yeah. LA and New York, that's the biggest you get. So he wouldn't be mad in New York.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I would rule out trading Anthony Davis to the Lakers because what you're going to get back from them isn't going to match what the Knicks can give you. I mean, think about it. Getting the first pick completely changed the New Orleans Pelicans' outlook for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. By potentially adding Zion, the future LeBron caliber player, you're putting your franchise in a position to win championships for the next 20 years.
Why I think LA would be better.
You need to...
In the NBA these days, you need talent. You can't just have, like, 2 or 3 guys.
That's why not ship him to Boston?
You need depth, right?
Yeah. Why not
you need at least 7 extra guys besides Zion who can produce on their own.
Yeah.
And that's what you see in Lonzo Ball, Ingram, like everyone else on the Lakers who isn't LeBron.
Are they going to amount to the potential that can potentially help Zion deliver a championship to New Orleans?
I think it will, because those guys are good and they're developing, right?
Well, they're also going to have to pay these players.
What the Pelicans need is by the 3rd year to be in a place where they can win a championship.
But at that point,
they'll have Zion for 3 years.
But the point is,
first
by
year
then, they need to re-sign Lonzo. They need to re-sign Brandon Ingram. They need to re-sign
They'll want to stay.
Yeah, but the thing is, the cap space, the money doesn't work out.
So I think one trade that I don't think no one's really covered yet, and it actually just popped into my head, was what if you trade with Memphis if you're New Orleans? Because you already have Julius Randle who can play the 4 position, and then you have Zion who can play the 3. Then if you trade away Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis for Mike Conley, Ja, and Jonas Valanciunas, then those 3 guys on New Orleans, that would help your team a lot. Think of a team that would have Mike Conley as veteran leadership, also still playing an all-star caliber. Then you have the young talent of Ja Morant, as well as Zion Williamson, with a big guy.
Do you really want Zion and Ja Morant on the same team at that point? Because Ja Morant wasn't on Duke with RJ Barrett and Zion.
And he's a ball-first guy.
Yeah.
Well, then you just trade for Mike Conley and Jonas Valanciunas. Because Jonas Valanciunas, he can score the ball, and you can say he's bad defensively, but that's why you pair him with a guy like Julius Randle. Then you have Zion playing off the wing, and Mike Conley still, veteran point guard, knows how to pass, knows how to play the game.
New Orleans Pelicans could potentially have the 1st and 2nd pick in this draft.
I'm thinking they could, but I'm also saying that Memphis could keep their 2nd pick with Ja, and then New Orleans, they could ship out Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis, and they could play the 5 and 2 there. If I'm Memphis, I wouldn't take that. If I'm Memphis, I wouldn't take that trade. If I'm New Orleans, I would do it. New Orleans, that's a good trade. Memphis, that's why it won't happen, because it's a hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
Memphis should never take that. They're rebuilding right now. Why would they give away their number 2 draft pick? Yeah. And then they also already have the crappy contract of Chandler Parsons. another one like Davis and say he won't like Memphis either.
Yeah.
He'll do the same thing in Memphis he did in New
Yeah.
Orleans. And
So,
then
okay,
that'll
because
just
it's
ruin
super
their
hard-
entire
yeah.
franchise.
So because it's extremely hard to predict what Anthony Davis really wants, what do you think is his dream
I
scenario?
just had another idea. What about Charlotte? Because Kemba said he wants out.
But
Charlotte has
but
role
it's Charlotte.
players.
That's the
It's
problem.
Charlotte.
It's Charlotte.
Yeah. He won't have that much of a supporting cast once Kemba leaves. No, yeah, you will. Because Charlotte, they've proven themselves. They're like the 9th seed in the East. I think they're pretty close to playoffs.
You're saying 9th
But
seed
you
in the East is
add
proving
a
yourself?
9th seed, get rid of Kemba, but add in Anthony Davis. That's a playoff.
Okay,
You
you got a
added
7th
Anthony
seed.
Davis without a point guard.
Yeah,
You're shipping. You're gonna do Kemba Walker,
okay, even
a
with
pick,
Anthony
and a couple
Davis,
players for
with
Anthony
the same
Davis
squad
and
on Charlotte, you're looking at a 7th seed
Holiday.
team.
That's a playoff team nonetheless.
Well, yeah,
And New
7th
Orleans
seed.
is getting a good player out of it too.
I don't think-
Kemba with Zion.
New
I think that's a
Orleans-
decent trade
again,
for both
that's
teams.
a good trade for New Orleans, but it's not.
It is for Charlotte. You get Anthony Davis. He's better than
You
Kemba
get
Walker.
Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis isn't
Won't
going
wanna
to
play
play
there.
there. He won't want to play there. He'll put up a
Well,
fit.
eventually, if you keep sitting out, then you're not a basketball player anymore.
No,
like
let's
he's
be
gonna
honest.
want to play eventually.
Anthony
Yeah.
Davis.
He's gonna have to.
Anthony Davis will only go to Los Angeles and New York. In New Orleans, they want to trade him
Yeah.
wherever they can get rid of him. If
Because
he's
to be
not
honest,
going
at
to
this
play
point,
there.
he's a rental unless he's traded to
But
a place he
no
wants to
team's
stay at.
going to accept besides the Lakers
Yeah.
or the Knicks.
I think one factor that we're overlooking is that Anthony Davis' contract is only good for one more year. So
Yeah.
as it is right now, if he's to be traded, he has to be traded right now
I
or
mean-
during the season. And the best chance for New Orleans to get a good package in return is trading him right now for a
So if
draft
I'm New
pick.
Orleans,
Everyone-
then I'm not
package
gonna
of
trade
players.
now. I'm gonna
Everyone
wait till the
thought-
trade deadline.
Everyone thought he was going to get traded last year.
But
he
wouldn't you
didn't.
want a
New
shot at
Orleans
this
kept
draft
on to
class?
him. Now they got Zion.
If you're New Orleans, wouldn't you want a
You
shot at
want
getting
a
him
shot
out
at
of
would
this
the
get
pick?
a
draft
shot at
class,
this-
but you'd want to make sure that
but-
this draft class pans out. Wait till the trade
I
deadline.
would just do this. New Orleans,
That's- yeah.
keep him for the start of the season. Bench him, right? Like if he doesn't
Yeah.
want to play, he doesn't have to be there or playing. Have Zion and Julius Randle put on a show, and Anthony Davis will want to join in. Otherwise, trade
that's
him
what
at
I'm
the
saying.
trade
If
deadline.
you're gonna
Okay,
trade
that's
him,
very
do it at the trade
hypothetical, though.
deadline.
I feel like
But
that's
the problem with the trade deadline is you don't get a chance to draft these guys again. And also, if let's say that it does work out and RJ Barrett goes to the Knicks and he's having a great season, New York wouldn't want to trade him then for Anthony Davis because at that point it's risky because he could potentially want to
Yes,
join LeBron
but
in
the
Los
Lakers
Angeles.
probably they'll have the
The
fourth.
Lakers will always want Anthony
Anthony
Davis.
Davis,
New
yeah.
Orleans always has an outlet in going to the Lakers. I say that's like their safety. You know, they can do
Yeah,
that whenever they
exactly.
want.
It's like a
The
backup
Lakers are
college.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Anthony Davis, you know, at this point, I don't care. It's not his choice, right? It's the Pelicans. They get to
Yeah.
do whatever they want with him.
For one more
He
year.
can pout and do whatever he wants, but I say they keep him.
Yeah.
If I could talk to the Pelicans GM right now, I'd say keep him for the season. And I bet you that's what they're gonna do. There won't be an Anthony Davis trade this summer, and the Pelicans will keep him because we saw the owner who was at the lottery.
Yeah.
The owner, he got it. They asked him, so what are you looking forward to with Anthony Davis and Zion? He's like, oh, we got a lot of work to do, and he'll see. They're going to keep Davis. That's
well,
what
that's
they did last
obviously
year.
optimistic. You want
So
to keep
one
Anthony
guy's
Davis.
If they
hypothetical
wouldn't have
before
kept
we move
him,
on.
if they wouldn't have kept him, they would have traded him
Yeah.
for the guys last year, so they could have developed them already
Yeah.
and then add Zion.
But obviously,
They're
the
gonna
Lakers'
keep-
offer seems much more appealing now because that first
No,
round draft choice is the fourth
The
overall
Lakers-
So
selection.
there is one thing I would like to say. One more hypothetical trade. Of course, I don't think this trade's probably least likely to happen. But I think, given if you put aside everything else and just look at the talent of the rosters after this, I think it could actually be very interesting. A Brooklyn trade with New Orleans, where you do Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis for Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Jared Allen, plus well, that's it. Just
They'll be
those
over
two
the
guys.
15 player
Yeah.
limit.
Well,
I don't even think the money works out.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
So then now let's move on to one of the more funny things that have happened in NBA.
Right back after this
Recently.
break.
This week's episode is sponsored by Empathy Venture Capital. Are you having trouble making your startup turn into a big deal? Well, just go to empathy.com/notjustthewaterboys -325. Then use our code EmpathyRules/Waterboys to get 15% off your first success section with their Empathy officials. I know Manpal's done it, I know Abby's done it, and I know I've done it. This is the key to success. Empathy. We're definitely not a
I
scam.
think that's just like these immature people going like, oh, we made it, blah, blah, blah. We can do whatever we want now. And they're throwing away
I think
their
you can
careers.
also attribute it to the pressure put on these athletes, especially the one who have a social media presence.
Exactly.
Yeah, social media
There's
presence.
so many factors that influence that.
You know, these days sports,
so much easier to
as
get.
Dirk Nowitzki said himself, these days sports are less about winning and more about looking good. You know, and that's a huge issue. I think we can tie into this drug.
Because at the end of the day, all professional sports are is a business.
Yeah.
And you don't have to win in order to make money. You just have to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyreke Evans, I mean, you literally are a veteran. You're making like $1 million. You'll probably have, 4 more years? Why don't you just wait till you get $4 million more dollars?
Or just not do drugs.
Or just don't do drugs.
Listen to what everyone's telling you.
There's so many talented people who never make it to college or the NBA because they choose drugs over sports. And that's long been an issue. So this signals we are wrapping up the episode. We will see you guys next week where we'll probably talk about some more sports related things. Tell Abby you like his shirt. Signing out for now. Subscribe. Comment. See you next week.